Hello and welcome to D-SETI. This video is called Crop Circles, a Sacred Geometry Primer. This is a video series in the universal language. If you're just starting out, you might want to start at the beginning of this series because we talk about ruler and compass method of geometry, which is essential to this work, as well as why we're going on this inquiry at all. Crop circles are sacred geometric figures discovered in crops, usually in the UK. Some are associated with hoaxes, but many of them exhibit anomalous and unexplained qualities like bending of the crop, weaving patterns, crystallization of the ground underneath, and they're really perfect geometry. I tried a snow circle myself 2 days ago, and it was rather challenging and only about 16 feet in diameter. It was very, very hard. There's incredible geometry within it that's worth exploring, even if it is a hoax, and some are, but most aren't. So I want to say thank you to Temporary Temples. They did the photography of these crop circles that a lot of this is based on. I printed them off and did the geometric analysis under the fair use idea, and so I just wanted to shout out to them because without that work, I would be unable to offer these analyses. So ruler and compass geometry is geometry that's based only on a ruler and a compass, which compass is a ruler, clear ruler, and produces geometries like this. And there are certain themes associated with that. The first theme is the most important for you to understand. This is the unity radius. And I'm going to talk about this in crop circles. I'm just listing them so you have them in your mind before we dive into the graphics. Unity radius. That's, if you draw a crop circle, it's the radius of that crop circle. And we'll use that idea in dots in a line, red grid mark, and other communications. But this means that all of the mathematical communications, everything relates back to a single value out of which all of the proportions and distances and measurements can be generated. It also involves regular polygons. This means triangles, squares, diamonds, 5-sided figures, 6-sided figures, 7-sided figures, and so on. It also involves bisection and dividing of a line into whole number fractions. So this means divide that line in half, divide it in half again, divide it in half again, and there you have the ratio between this thing and the whole unity radius, right? So that's sort of how we're working. In addition to that, sometimes golden ratio comes up in the crop circles, but it has not yet come up unless it's an explicit theme of that crop circle. So we find golden ratio in sort of regular polygons as a sort of consequence of them being regular polygons. Whether or not the crop circle is about the golden ratio or not is a topic for discernment. But some of these circles, and I'll show you one, is explicitly about golden ratio. So there are specific themes that are illuminated while others are not. So there's a sense of some meaningful communication even there. Iteration or fractalization is another type of experience, as well as mirroring, duality, that sort of thing, reflecting. And then finally, the last theme I would talk about is the relationship or ratio to the natural environment. These crop circles have reference to the natural landscape, and I'll show you a really interesting figure shortly. My analysis method is simple. I print out the crop circle, I start drawing lines to connect the obvious places. I find the center of the circle, and then I find the unity radius. Then I'll draw the circle on another piece of paper. I start to look for bisections or whole number fractions. Sometimes I just start counting up the points of the figure that emerged, or the dots or whatever, and I go, oh, I bet it's 6. Divide this by 6 or whatever, and lo and behold, most of the time it's the case. I look for the golden ratio. I look for regular polygons, or for the generation methods of those polygons. So, for example, we might have a 24-sided figure that's reducible to a hexagon, and that flower of life pattern may actually illuminate some of the other intersection points. So I sometimes draw those figures on top, the construction methods on top, because these figures actually refer sometimes to the construction methods. And then I finally I do congruence testing, meaning I print out multiple photos, construct the geometry based on that photo scale, and I overlay the geometry onto the photo to visually see congruence. Multiple photos are used because the angles involved with natural photography of these things don't add up exactly. So we have to then create a geometric figure that is approximated by these different 2D representations of the crop circle through photographs. All right, so here is a great example of crop circle analysis working on. This is, you see the hexagonal grid in here, you see the flower of life, the seed of life pattern, you see the regular divisions, you see these dots that have whole number ratios, the unity ratio and things like that. So once you start doing this, you start to see the language underneath. Here is a really interesting one involving bisection and placement of circles. I had always been mystified by how these circles are generated until I actually tried it, right? So there feels like a balance, kind of a casting of a circle this way and that way. And so this theme has sort of a revelation of both like regularity and irregularity balancing in this sort of like iterative bisection of these circles. And so we go, oh, okay, here's one, let's divide that, in terms of the radius. And so here's a division by 5. We've got the square within this circle, which is likely going to be a major theme throughout all of this stuff. And we have, in that square, we have division by 5, actually it's division by 10. Easy enough to do. Bisect, divide by 5, and then cast or take those divisions into the other side. And then we also have this sort of mirroring dynamic. This sort of shows up all the time in terms of these anomalous communications. In this one we have regular polygons, iteration, bisections, and triangles. It looks as if these triangles are important, sacred angles, right? There's like this strong complexity to it. I love what happens when you look into it as a mandala. There's a sort of scintillation experience of geometry, the scintillation of geometry. And we have iteration and bisection. So once again, these are all different types of experiences. Behind this, we could draw the flower of life. So here is a crop circle that's it was like really wonderful to draw. Again, a sort of scintillation of geometry. It was hard to even see what was happening until I did the construction several times. This is the golden ratio. The horizontal kind of like the lines through it, those are irrigation tracts. So the whole thing is built in proportion to irrigation tracts. And it's sort of like they found the right place for this, or the place itself wanted this. There is complexity in the image itself that I haven't necessarily discovered. I've discovered just, hey, it's just the golden ratio. It's a relatively easy construction method, although this one figure, generally the crop circles, all can be constructed using the circle that they have reference to, and that's, if I draw a 6-inch circle on an 8-inch piece of paper, it's usually fine. In this case, the construction methods are huge. It actually requires circles much larger, like twice the size of the unity radius, and so I would actually explore that and explore a much larger photograph of the area to see if there's anything else coming out, referencing actually those larger construction methods, because this is you hit a note C and G, right, on a keyboard. You go, I know there's a harmony, a third that fits the chord. You know that, and you know if the theme is a major key or whatever. You know what that third note is. Here we go. There's more information. Simple constructions yet complex messages. So once again, we have a hexagonal pattern, kind of concentric circles, but they're clearly communicating number here, right? Clearly communicating number and area, and relationships between the two. I don't fully get it. I don't fully understand it. And in this one, it's clear because the red kind of period next to the yellow C is not the right proportion to just visually looking at it. The congruence testing did show, yes, indeed, it's close enough, I got it, and yeah, I did sort of move over the line with my marker, but I think there's something else in there that I'm not understanding. But it's a very, very simple construction method. If I were to sit with this one, I feel like I might understand something about science. That is really important, like a mathematical constant. And if I played with it, it takes a lot of time to work with all of these. Here is my own design of a crop circle expressive of some of these experiences. This is based on dots in a line or dots in a 2D figure anomalous marking that I started to work with. It is based on the extension of a line segment by the golden ratio as well, and so I cast that in a circle and then colored it in and then drew a border in proportion to some of the figures within the center. So this is me sort of saying, okay, let me play around with crop circle design. I tried to make a snow circle of this, and it was very, very difficult to do, and I'll try again. So the intelligences involved with crop circles that we've seen are the types of intelligences, and we need to really analyze this, like what type of intelligence is placing these things and how are they constrained, because that gives us clues to who they are, what they want, what the message is. And so we see that there is an intelligence involved with the geometric design. So that is the geometric message. That's the ruler and compass construction, whatever that is, that's the design. It happened in a mathematical space intentionally by an intelligent being like us, right? Then there's the placement design. So place and time and relation to the environment. That could be the same or different. Some could be flying around in a spaceship with something on a floppy disk, right? Like they go, oh, this is it. This is the time and place. And then there's actually this technical application, which might be like beaming the light. In this case, actually, I think it's something like sound emitting from higher density beings or nature spheres or something like that. I don't actually know, and that's fine. But the technical application is how it moves from the world of geometry through the coordination of a person or an entity or an intelligence going, this is now the right time and place, and then it goes into the technical application. That means, how do I apply this geometric design using technology, even if it's not technology in the way that we understand technology, it's using things in a technological way to the environment. Yeah. So what does this all mean? Well, ruler and compass method construction and congruence testing of these anomalous marks of the crop circles means that they are geometric communications, not just accidents or artifacts. There's no way, it seems, that swirling wind could produce these communications, right? We know that the mark makers are intelligent. We're presuming them to be life, and therefore their life and intelligence like we know it. They might be sneaky humans like the hoaxers, but we doubt it because those hoaxers need to explain many different anomalous phenomena. Crystallization of the ground, bending of the crops, the harmonic tones recorded within them, the psionic dreams people have, the healings that happen in these temples or whatever. These crop circles. So we can deduce that these mark makers are observant and have an effective theory of our mind. They're teaching us stuff about geometry and the world through engaging us in these geometric progressions. That's what I'm saying. It's like you start looking at crop circles, you'll understand how to draw them. They teach you how to draw them. They do not, it's a textbook. That's what I'm saying here. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. There's many dimensions of meaning, but I'm saying the one that seems to be obvious is a textbook about geometric construction of these figures that have mathematical and probably scientific and cultural implications. Finally, we know that these mark makers are expressive through objective, interpersonal, and subjective means of communication. Association with CE5 and intentional contact, which is the context out of which this inquiry arises, means that that they are contacting us back, that we've had a conversation, that we're several phases in to a documented and meaningful conversation. I'm not talking about my own work. That is just a very small part of it. I'm talking about the whole CE5 movement, the work of people like Jimmy Blanchette, recording radio stuff, and analyzing the geometries behind that, as well as many other researchers. So this comes out of the context of D-SETI. D-SETI stands for Dream Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, or else Dream Studies of Extraterrestrial Intelligence, depending on your perspective. D-SETI offers dreamwork sessions and educations through the work of me, Daniel Rekshan. I have a master's degree in psychology, certificate in hypnotherapy, PhD student in integral noetic science. It's really important to know that ET contact and dreamwork are triggering, taboo, and projection prone, so please be mindful as you continue your inquiry. To learn more, you can go to dseti.org. So thanks for checking out these crop circles with me. I love them. I think they're wonderful. And I've been aware of them since I was like a teenager. I've been curious about them. I go, oh, they maybe are anomalous marks on this world. They might be communications from angels. Oh, I heard that they were hoaxed by Doug and Dave with a board and the rope. And I said, oh, well, mainstream world doesn't believe in it. Therefore I won't look into it. Yeah, they're meaningful, but who really cares? There's lots of codes in this world. But if you actually look at it and spend some time and not let other people mediate your own relationship with geometric communication and art, right? Then you can really discern where you're at with it. That's what I did with this. I said, I'm doing my own art with geometry from my dreams that looks like crop circles. Why don't I look at crop circles like it was dream geometry? That seemed obvious to me. And then I realized, wow, these are potent and pregnant with meaning that you can discern, that is personally meaningful, that's objectively meaningful. And the way you do that is working with this geometrically through the ruler and compass methods of geometry. You don't look at, don't go, hey, that looks like a star. That's a wonderful way to start. It's like, that looks like a star, whatever. You actually have to work with the geometry of the ruler and compass method to understand we're dealing with mathematical objects. And this is how you deal with mathematical objects. Just so you know, you have to hold it in your mind, and you use external figures to help you hold it in mind. This is a meditation. This is mindfulness. This is meditation and mindfulness and mandala practice based in the history and foundations of all of our mathematics that seems to have been erased from our public school curriculum, right? Generation of these regular polygons from circles, ruler and method constructions, the geometric design of calculus and relativity, like these are all geometric objects using ruler and compass methods of framing in. All of these geometric proofs, all of these mathematical proofs, all of our history of math and science relates back to this, and it's been erased from our public school curriculum. I don't think that's an accident, and therefore I'm saying some of the most potent advocacy work you can do for disclosure is to learn the very simple methods of ruler and compass geometric constructions. I would invite you to do that. And just see where it goes and start kind of looking into this. Just see where it goes and see what comes up in your own life. Perhaps even compose a message of invitation and of response. Crop circles have been sort of a textbook of this geometric language. I built my own, right? Like, I'm going to build more. I'm going to reach out in a variety of ways because they are observant. They observe the environment. They observe the people in kind and respectful ways, it seems, and give us communications that are in reference to those observations. And therefore, let's continue that conversation. And I say that all of the kind of higher level dialogue around disclosure and contact, that is not relevant. The thing here is we are using tools that a child can understand and using aspects, both aspects, creative and logical, right, to understand and work with these things. Therefore, nobody else can do this for you besides you. There's no UFO committee in the Congress that will create an understanding of these communications for you unless you learn the ruler and compass methods of geometry to understand these things. Luckily, it takes probably 2 hours. So do that. Maybe talk to aliens. See where that goes. I don't know. I'm in this inquiry. It's rather odd that it is so obvious now that I've practiced this method. So I invite you to do that. I hope this is an inspiration to you, and I'll see you in the next videos of this series.